Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast channel. I am your host, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the video as usual, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to enable notifications to receive all the updates from these match recaps and all other content on the channel. And we're coming to you with a sort of a recap of what happened on the day in the Premier League and in the Serie A. And we start with the Premier League. Of course, 3 matches have been played so far, and we're recording this ahead of the game of Manchester United and West Ham later on in the night. And it kicked off in Southampton in the St Mary's as Southampton lost to Brighton 2-1 in the opener of Sunday's games in the Premier League. Southampton managed to equalise after the opening goal of Lewis Dunk in the 16th minute. Che Adams equalised for the Saints, but Leandro Trossard brought them the full 3 points in the 56 minutes. Southampton dominated the game of sorts, particularly in the first half. Really, they provided a lot of chances, they had a lot of opportunities, but Brighton pretty solid in the back. They only conceded the 1 goal in the game, and pretty much that was it for Southampton. The second half, it was pretty much more of a defending side of things for Brighton. Really an important 3 points for them that gets them a little bit above the relegation zone. They're now with 29 points at 16th, of course above Newcastle, Fulham, West Brom and Sheffield United. Speaking of Sheffield United, Leicester City managed to batter them 5-0. It was the Kelechi Iheanacho show pretty much. He opened the scoring in the 39th minute from assist of Jamie Vardy, and then Ayoze Perez managed to add the second goal in the 64th minute. Kelechi Iheanacho was back at it with a third goal and the 4th goal, and Ethan Mpando helped Leicester City with the 5th goal, scoring in his own net to bound up the misery really for Sheffield United. They're going from bad to worse. Chris Wilder just left the club yesterday, and it's a pretty new situation really at Sheffield United. Paul Higginbottom took charge of the club as an interim coach, obviously, until they find the new one. Pretty interesting situation growing on at Sheffield. And of course, the big game of the day in the Premier League is the London derby, the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, and it ends 2-1 for the red side of that derby. Of course, I mean, the derby was, I think, pretty much not that interesting until the 65th minute or so. I mean, Tottenham opened the scoring early on. It was really about Lamela for Tottenham. I mean, he's a defining man. Son Heung-min goes down injured inside 19 minutes. Eric Lamela comes in, not just does score a beautiful goal from an assist from Lucas. Martin Odegaard equalises on the half-time whistle pretty much in the 44th minute. The only shot on target that Tottenham had in the first half was Lamela's goal, and the only shot that Arsenal pretty much had on target as well was Odegaard goals. But overall, it was Arsenal better than Tottenham in that derby in the first 45 minutes. Then, of course, they pound up the pressure in the second half. They add the tempo, they increase the tempo. Shout out to Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka. They did so well in the middle. Kieran Tierney was running down that left-hand side superbly as well. He did so well to counter Matt Doherty, who didn't run a lot. On the other side, Tottenham were their usual defending self pretty much under Mourinho, and just when we thought that we're seeing the best of them, we're seeing their best form all season, and pretty much they do. I mean, they were 5 on the bounce heading into this one, and the loss before that was another London derby against West Ham away from home. So we thought that we would see a better version of Tottenham. They scored 4 against Wolfsburg in the Europa League, both home and away. Then they scored 4 against Burnley. They hit 4 past Crystal Palace. They defeat Dinamo Zagreb in a pretty much preparation game 2-0, and we thought, well, they're going to be better in that derby, but they're back to their usual selves, and that was caused a stupid foul from Davinson Sanchez in the 65th minute gives away the penalty for Arsenal. Lacazette takes it, Lacazette scores in the 65th minute, and 2-1 from there. It was game over pretty much for Tottenham, because once they are in possession, they don't know what to do with it, and the misery is pounded with Eric Lamela being sent off in the 76th minute for a stupid tackle, really, on Emil Smith-Rowe. Tottenham had a couple of glorious opportunities. I mean, 2 in 1 really. Harry Kane hitting the post, and then Davinson Sanchez ball, or Moussa Sissoko ball, rather, being saved by Gabriel with a great clearance, denying them the opportunity to equalise late on. Arsenal held on really well, and they managed to fall 3 points against Tottenham, and somehow they find themselves just 4 points of Tottenham, 5 shy of Everton, and of course they could challenge for something close to a top 4. It looks pretty far-fetched to say that, but, still 10 matches of the season. You don't know about the form of the other clubs above them. Aston Villa, not exactly stable. Liverpool as well. Nobody is consistent in that batch, I think, in that top 4 spot. The big takeaway is that Leicester City managed to become second here on the table overall, in the Premier League. As for Arsenal, of course, they would take big solace in that derby win. They are quite on a good run, really, now, 5 matches unbeaten, and the 4th victory from these 5 matches. A draw against Burnley that was pretty much their own doing, shooting themselves in the foot. A good victory in the derby, well deserved, with a great performance from Mikel Arteta's side. Finishing off with the Premier League, and let's turn our attention now to the Serie A and what happened, of course, in Italy on the day. 4 matches were played today. Bologna defeated Sampdoria 3-1. We're not going to really care that much, but we start caring from the game between Parma and AS Roma. And yesterday, Atalanta, of course, on Friday, really, Atalanta managed to beat Spezia 3-1 in a game that, as I mentioned in the podcast, was pretty defining when it comes to a top 4 position. AS Roma had the chance to go over Atalanta again, return to their 4th spot, but they blew it. They lose to Parma 2-0. A goal either side of half-time. Mihaela in the first 9 minutes of the first half, scoring the goal for Parma. In the second half, the first 10 minutes of the second half, Hernani with a penalty managed to add it 2-0 for Parma in a game that it was pretty much, if you take out the goals, really, it was swaying only one-way traffic for Roma, but somehow they couldn't manage the equalizer. They couldn't manage to save anything out of this game. Pretty well-drilled side in Parma playing the 4-3-3. It feels bad that they are pretty low on the table in the relegation battle, of course, with 19 points, bad form and all. This is the first victory in a big while for Parma, really. They're missing these kind of results. It has been such a long time since they had a win on their record. In fact, you have to go back to the 30th of November from last year if you want to register a win for them in general. And if you want to go even forward looking for a home win, that would be in 5 days before that, of course, against Cosenza in the Cup. And of course, looking for their last home win was against Verona in early October. So it's a pretty big mess for Parma, who last season were a pretty decent side, fighting for higher spots than these in the Serie A. Another side that normally is decent but find themselves fighting for the survival here is Torino, who lost again against Inter, of course, and Inter Milan, of course, stomping their way now and continue to progress forward towards another league title. This was another game that was only swaying one way, really, towards Inter Milan. Torino didn't have a lot of opportunities. The few they have, they scored from them. Sanabria, pretty bad defensive mistake, really, for that goal in particular from the Inter defense. Lukaku and Martinez, the deadly duo of Inter Milan, managed to make it 2-1 away from home in Turin. Of course, Lukaku improving his tally to 19 goals this season, only 4 behind Cristiano Ronaldo, and I think that has to do in a big part of it with the hat-trick that Cristiano Ronaldo scored against Cagliari, which transitions us swiftly to the game between Cagliari and Juventus in the Serie A, of course, before the game between Milan and Napoli later on. Cristiano Ronaldo with the hat-trick, a right foot, left foot, and a penalty. Somehow it's the perfect hat-trick, really, for Cristiano Ronaldo, and after that, I think, expectedly, Andrea Pirlo let off his foot off the gas pretty much. The goal coming in from Giovanni Simeone for Cagliari as sort of, saving face almost, but they were pretty good in the second half, really. Cagliari, overall, they had a decent second half. The first half was more Juventus than usual, but in the second half, Cagliari took the charge, took the game forward, but they couldn't score more than that one goal. And of course, Pirlo managed to make his changes, try to rest his players for the rest of the fixtures. Certainly, the big fixture coming against Napoli in the midweek, and it's going to be defining in a lot of regards, really, because it's going to be probably to silence the critics of Juventus this season. I don't know, they couldn't be silenced really, because being eliminated from Porto, nothing really could silence the critics afterwards, and the big wave of criticism for Cristiano Ronaldo coming afterwards. The game that is left between AC Milan and Napoli later on in the night, a big game, and obviously everybody's looking forward to it, particularly Inter Milan, who probably would benefit from a draw or a loss that would, at least would make the difference there's a potential to make the difference between them 8 to 9 points ahead of, 11 fixtures left in the season, so it's going to be quite hard for AC Milan to catch up to them. That's it for this Serie A/PL combined recap. I was with HD the PSP. Of course, like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and enable notifications to receive all the updates from these podcast episodes and recaps. Of course, all content on the channel, the podcast, you can listen to that on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Bitches I pull on Instagram, site PSP on Twitter, follow us there on social media, and until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.